And we are live.
Is there a fan on? I hear something.
I barely hear it, but that ain't saying much. It ain't the fan. Anyway. And good morning.
Good morning.
It's Friday.
It is Firearms Friday. And Georgia Constitution Media is in the chat, and he says, FTP, happy Firearms Friday. You know, you film the police so that hopefully that's all you ever have to do to the police.
So you don't get shot.
Well, I will make a joke about you shoot the police so you don't have to shoot the police.
So when you walked in a minute ago, I was actually watching an auditor video, and it was a video from an auditor who was not conducting an audit when it happened.
It became an audit.
So what happened? Apparently the guy's homeless, but he does auditing on a cell phone, and how that works out, I cannot imagine, Obama. But apparently, homeless guy's wife and kid are walking down the street, and walking through a neighborhood on a public street. Kid's got a bag, like a ghetto grocery bag of candy, drops the candy, and this off-duty cop comes running out. Hey, you can't litter in my yard. I want you to pick that trash up and get the hell out of here. Like, as dude's bending over to pick up the candy that the 2-year-old or 3-year-old kid dropped on the ground. And then the guy starts filming, and the off-duty cop tackles him. Now, to be clear, we've got the video for it. So as far as we could tell from the video, at no point was the guy off the on the private property. He was always on the public roadway. Cop runs up on him, smashes him to the ground, throws his phone away, puts his knee in his neck, right, and then calls 911. And yeah, GCM. Yep, that's right. This cop got fired that day because he calls 911. Other cops show up, and we've got the body cam footage from those cops as they walk away from the auditor and the offending officer, and we hear their conversation clearly. We know who this guy is. He's an auditor. This is what he does. They use phrases like, he hems us up enough already. We have no choice but to arrest this cop because his crime is on video. And like, they have a very explicit back and forth conversation. The one cop is basically saying, we should cover this up. Look, the cop's right because he's a cop. You know, this is just some homeless bum. Screw him. And the other cop says, no, he's got everything on video. We have to arrest him. And then she calls the supervisor and all that. And I mean, it really is just a painfully blatant example of why it's important to always film not just the police. If you ever have any interaction with a government official, you need to film it. Alex says that one female cop was a humming and hawing about it though, and yeah, she literally said the words, no, he he's got it all on video, and this is what he does. He hems us up enough already. If we don't arrest this guy, it's going to be more. We're going to be stepping in even more trouble. It's painfully clear that her motivations in this are, I would basically let the cop go, except then we're all going to get in trouble. And again, as GCM pointed out, that cop got fired that day, and that was the correct answer. Assuming he was also incarcerated for the crime of assaulting a citizen. So that was a tangent I had not expected to start with. I want to open with this. I kind of teased it a little bit yesterday, and there is a link in the description below for the book on Amazon, In Defense of the Second Amendment. Now, this is by Larry Correia. He's one of my favorite authors. Larry Correia writes science fiction and fantasy novels, Monster Hunter International, the Interdimensional Insurance Agency stuff. Fantastic. His fantasy stories, his comedy stories, his science fiction, they're all very, very good. And they all feature basically libertarian type main characters. And we're talking little L libertarian, not the open border nut jobs. We're talking like the main book, the Monster Hunter International, starts off with the guy being attacked at work by a werewolf, and he actually makes commentary in there that, well, I'm in compliance with Texas law, if not company policy, and I am in fact armed at work, even though the company's against it, and thank God for that. And he fights a werewolf in an office building. Now, a science fiction writer is not that he's a science fiction author and a pro Second Amendment guy may not sound like sufficient credential to write this book in defense of the Second Amendment. But Larry Correia made his bones before he started writing books in Utah as a firearms dealer, owned gun stores, did gun shows, and a firearms instructor. And he's done instruction for citizens, civilians, police, military. The guy knows his guns. He really does. I would put him at least on the same level as Alex McDonald or I for the knowledge base and the ability to make those defensive arguments. And I went ahead and got the audio book. I listened to it in a day and a half, and it was absolutely excellently well done and amusing. It's not just a treatise on the Second Amendment. There's actually some good comedy in there, and it just came out. So he deals with some very current issues. Part of the book talks about the rise in crime related to the Summer of Love in 2020 and all that. So definitely go and check that book out. Again, there's a link in the description that you can go and check it out from. And then before we get to the DGUs, and I don't want to spend much time on this. This is a 7-minute video. I didn't even tell Cameron we were going to do this, but I want him to read this headline real quick. Because this is the part that we're going to touch on just a little bit before we actually do the DGUs. So
there are two types of people
Noir
in this country. Those that depend on other people to keep them safe, making them perpetual victims, and those that know the only person responsible for your safety is you. Apparently.
I love Colin.
Yep.
I mean, don't always agree with some of his takes, but on a basic level, like, if that's how he's going to start his video, he's my people.
Right. And so Colin is not the Black Guns Matter guy. That's Maj Toure. Maj Toure, who we met at an NRA event several years ago. But Colin also talks not just about the Second Amendment in particular, but he makes some of the arguments when the when the gun grabbers talk about how all gun owners are racist, because that's one of the common things is gun owners are all Republicans are all white men, and all white men are racist. Like, okay, that's an amusing set of tautologies, but failing your absolute rhetorical ineptitude, guys like Colin talk about the importance of especially black men in high crime areas needing to arm and defend themselves. And part of that argument is that one of the major criticisms from the left is that the police are racist and they do not care. They will not come and save you if you're a black man in a lower income area. And okay, I'm going to go ahead and grant you that. And that says to me that these brothers need to be strapped. Not they should because it's politically useful or it's a good idea. No. The right to keep and bear arms is about the right to self-defense and the defense of others, right? It is not the right to hunt Bambi. It is the right to stay alive.
Every time I've ever heard that argument about how, the cops are racist and Republicans are racist and it's high crime and it's not fair and institutional poverty, and I hear all that and I'm like, no, I already think you should own a gun. Like, you don't have to resell me.
Yeah, don't. Exactly.
I'm already on your side here. Own a gun. Yeah, keep going, please.
The people in Houston, Texas are the latter.
New tonight, Houston gun owners taking matters into their own hands, fighting back against criminals.
That's right. Just this week, we've reported on 3 apparent burglars shot, 2 dead, all accused of trying to commit crimes here in the city.
This has happened a surprising amount over the last several weeks. Burglars and robbers shot dead in the city of Houston. But authorities want to remind people to know the law and to be careful. Violent robberies caught on camera across Houston. This victim followed home from a bank. These people eating in a popular sushi restaurant held at gunpoint.
The way society is going, more and more people are going to look to that and say, hey, look, the officers can't defend us because there's not enough of them to be here. So they are going to take the law in their own hands.
Other issues.
Yeah, so even if you had enough officers to cover all of the incidents that we would hope to have officers cover, they still have to get there.
And they have to choose. Not only do they have to get there, Uvalde, but they've actually got to act.
Do the job. Yeah.
Well, no, the job is they get there and they make arrests when the incident is over. The job, as the courts have affirmed over and over again, the job does not have to involve them putting themselves in harm's way.
Correct. They have the police have no legal obligation, no duty to defend you or protect you or in any way interfere in the commission of a crime.
It's funny that came out of Houston too. It's not funny that it came out of Texas. It's funny that it came out of Houston.
It's not funny that it came out of a particular red state, but rather that it's an occurrence within the
bluest city in Texas.
Of the blue cancer there.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So I'll go back real quick before we get to this first DGU. That is actually one of the things that Larry Correia talks about in defense of the Second Amendment, is that over the last 4 years, and most especially during 2020, there was a massive spike in people buying guns. And he lays all the numbers out in there, and I don't remember them all off the top of my head, but he's talking about millions of new federal background checks per month. I think he said some 8 million new CCW applications nationwide. Right, so we're talking about millions of first-time gun owners.
Yes.
Who are disproportionately, lefties love that word, disproportionately minority and female. Right? So of the millions of new gun owners in the last couple of years, And I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was something like 40% are black, and of those 40% are women. There was another huge percent of Hispanic, which was also represented by nearly half of them being women as well. People are getting strapped, and they're getting strapped. They're buying weapons. They're going through the process, the unconstitutional, but currently, technically, theoretically legal process of getting the background check done, buying at a licensed dealer, applying for and acquiring a concealed carry license. And that's happening all over the country, most especially in these cancer blue cities, where during the summer of love, the lefties learned that their own people will burn down their businesses, and then not only will the police not do anything to stop it, they will be explicitly ordered to stand down by those liberal mayors and governors that these now frightened leftists watching their cities burned down, helpless, unarmed, with the police not interfering. They have learned that those governors and mayors will explicitly give stand down orders to the police in order to allow, essentially putting their stamp of endorsement on those riots, on those autonomous zones, on those murders and assaults and actual arson attacks on federal properties. The same people who voted for all this are now figuring out, slowly, but they're starting to learn that, oh my God, I'm on my own. The party of abortion, gun control, and child mutilation are actually not interested in my life at all.
Yeah. Oh, and then what will they do when it comes time to prosecute people? They'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to convict Kyle Rittenhouse, even though apparently they have the drone footage from the FBI proving that it was a self-defense case. That's who they'll go after. You know,
well,
hold on.
The unedited footage would have proved that.
You made jokes before about how it's people cannot remain liberal for their entire life if they're capable of reading, writing, and doing arithmetic.
Correct.
And I think that is the case here. You know, if I go to work every day, work some job I hate, buy a house, spend 9 years making payments on that house, building up equity, and then one day I go to the bank, it's like, gosh, I've always wanted to own my version of Cheers. And then I do it. I mortgage my house. I literally leverage everything in my life. And I go buy a bar. And I work my day job and I work at the bar. I get no sleep. I finally start to get the bar successful. Quit my day job. Then rioters come in and burn it the fuck down. Yeah, I'm no longer a liberal at that point, because it's like, oh, okay, I just invested 15 years of my life into a relatively small scale piece of the American dream, and I'm not getting any help from the cops. I'm not getting any help from my mayor. I'm not getting any help from the president, and I'm literally going to turn on CNN at my bar, and 4 blocks over, Ali Veshi, or whatever his name is explaining it's fiery, but it's mostly peaceful. Meanwhile, I know Susan, whose dog pound or whatever just got burnt down. She didn't feel like it was peaceful. She feels like her life is over. We're trying to talk her out of eating a bullet. So, yeah, I'm like, the further down I go with it, like repeal all federal firearms legislation. Background checks, what for?
Yeah,
look, I swear to God,
I'm all for constitutional carry.
Yeah, if we're all armed, It's that you've seen that meme where somebody says, "Hey, what would happen if some kid at Hogwarts started mass spelling Avada Kedavra?"
Yes.
And somebody else says, "Well, it wouldn't last very long because all the teachers have wands." And then, some cheeky bastard points out, "Oh, you mean because the teachers are armed?" And it's like,
yep. Really, Pitt Danny just said, "And you're paying taxes for services not rendered." Dan, I assume that you're saying that in reference to what I was just saying about how the police do not have a duty to defend. Yes. I want that to be very clear. Whenever you see a police car and it says on the side to protect and serve, that is a lie. And in part, your taxes are collected. So your taxes are collected at gunpoint with the threat of death, involuntarily, against your will. Whether or not you think paying taxes is a good idea, you do not pay taxes voluntarily. It is forced upon you by the threat of violence and death. But your compliance, the expectation that you won't resist that threat of murder, is based on a bill of goods that you were sold. And that bill of goods includes the expectation that there is a force of security-minded individuals who are trained, armed, skilled, and competent to the task of making it a safe and secure country that you live in. But your community is protected by uniformed officers. And the law is very clear on this matter. Your community is not protected by those officers. Now, the presence of police can be a deterrent, can dissuade criminals if the police are visible, potentially. But remember, the job of the police, by law, does not include protecting you. It includes making an arrest after the crime has been committed and forwarding that arrest to prosecution. It does not include the safety of the citizen. And officers love to say, XYZ, it's for your own safety. No. You absolutely do not get to interrupt or infringe my rights under the claim that it's for my safety, when the fact is that if my safety is compromised, I cannot sue you under the law for failing to do the job that you are telling me that you're supposed to do. You're a liar. So, let's get at least a couple of DGUs in. You want to read this first one, Cameron?
yes. Killing me, Smalls.
What's the problem?
This does not look like there's a high potential for DGUs, but, well, with at least current. But anyhow, police say shooting may have been self-defense. QFM 96. That is a mouthful.
Yes.
Wow. Police are investigating whether the fatal shooting of a man on the Far East Side early Sunday was an act of self-defense. Nathaniel Spears died just before 6:30 a.m. at a local hospital after officers found him lying in a grassy area in front of an apartment building in the 5000 block of Red Bird Court. Sergeant David Schimberg of the Columbus Police Homicide Unit said. The initial investigation indicates that Spears, 30, was involved with a fight with an unidentified suspect, which led to the shooting. Schimberg says detectives are investigating claims of self-defense, and their findings will be turned over to a Franklin County grand jury for consideration. The incident remains under investigation. Is this the same article? No, it's not.
No, you're right. It's not.
Wow, that was amazing. That was, there was... The word allegedly was nowhere in there.
True,
it
but
didn't refer.
I'm leaving this confused as to who we think the aggressor was.
I think that's the point. The QFM 96, QFM 96 is not 100% sure who the aggressor is, so they don't name an aggressor in their article.
Huh. That's cute.
Isn't that amazing?
If we were sure that Spears was the bad guy in this one, this would obviously be a DOT. But I'm gonna just not score this one because we don't.
Well, the 5,000 block of Redbird Court, just the name of that street. Like,
so let's try this one out. Maybe we have a better day here. Man claims self-defense in fatal shooting at Phoenix restaurant. Police say. Man was fatally shot inside a Phoenix restaurant near 2700 West Camelback Road on Saturday night. That sounds like a place for a ruck march, doesn't it, Sergeant Major? Phoenix officers arrive on the scene around 10 p.m. and found a man identified as 26-year-old Oscar Luna with a gunshot wound. Phoenix Fire took the man to a local hospital where he did not survive his injuries. We had several eyewitnesses and we detained a man. Detectives who took over the investigation reported that the man who was killed had entered the restaurant with a gun and fired a number of rounds inside the building. That
sounds
pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, the
man detained and questioned by police was inside the restaurant during this incident and had shot the individual, ending the confrontation.
Wait, you mean this was almost a mass shooting?
So, okay, I know, but this is one of the things. Like, there's a chapter on this in defense of the Second Amendment. Mass shootings only stop when there is a violent response. The beauty of having armed citizens, and as many of them as we can get, is that, like the one in, damn.
Are you talking about the church in Texas?
That's a good example, but I was thinking of the mall.
I'm
14 seconds. Right.
Like they literally have a drill named after the kid now.
Yeah, and Alex even knows it, and I can't remember it off the top of my head, but 14 seconds. The shooter started shooting. I think he killed 2 or 3 people in 14 seconds and then was on the ground because somebody did the right thing. Somebody was there to do the right thing. Right? The police got there 14 minutes later. So if there had not been an armed citizen there to solve the problem, then that killer, who was able to take out 2 or 3 people in 14 seconds, would have had 14 minutes to get her done.
Eli Dickin. That's right.
Eli Dickin. That's it. The Dickin drill. Thank you. I knew. Alex, my man. I knew you'd get it.
Yeah, the Dickin drill. That's not funny at all. What does that mean? Imagine if I owned a Bayraktar, I could stop any shooting.
Sergeant, I don't know. Sergeant Major points out 14 seconds is longer than most gunfights. Yeah. Speaking as somebody with experience in this, if you're in a gunfight for more than 14 seconds, that's called a siege or a battle, right? That's that you've gone from gunfight to official armed conflict.
Well, I mean, most self-defense situations with guns are over almost the instant they begin. Because as soon as whatever bad guy encounters armed resistance, like, you noticed how quick they just turn assholes and elbows? Like when the guy had the freaking assault rifle that he was trying to rob the hotel with. Yes, and the girl didn't even pull the gun. He was just like, is that a gun? And she was like, yeah. And he was like, basic.
Yeah, in fact, he said, is that a gun? She said yes. And he said, I'm not fucking with you, and left. And that did it. Oh.
It just makes me wonder what a Bayraktar is all.
I'm assuming it's a firearm that I'm not familiar with. But because he said it's a good weapon for self-defense, and I'm not going to stop to look it up right now.
Honestly, all weapons are good for self-defense. It's just some are better than others. You know, like I'm serious when I say things like arm the world and like no such thing as a background check and all that, because It's amazing how, like, we have this romanticized view of the wild, wild west. But actually, the reason why the gunfights that we know happened have been so romanticized is there weren't as many as you would think, because everybody was armed.
Well, and the reason that you know of so many gunfights and who was involved in them in the Wild Wild West, like today, you don't know the names of people who are popular, famous, well known, infamous even for gunfighting. Because there are so many of them, it's not worth your time to try and know it. Wild Wild West, there were so few people who were actually engaged in that activity that it wasn't difficult to know that information on mere word of mouth, let alone going out of your way to study it or to follow it like it was a sport or celebrity. They were celebrities, because the thing that they were doing was uncommon and, to a degree, impressive and interesting. That's not the case today.
Look, this is the follow-up to the story from last week.
It is. You want to do it?
Well, it's just one thing that I want to point out. I didn't actually see her point the gun at him.
Neither did I.
In the video, but according to this write-up,
steps back under the security camera.
But according to this write-up, she did point the gun at him, and, like, okay, how stupid do you have to be to have the drop on somebody with a rifle, and you don't know what the appropriate response is when they go for their own weapon? Like, that's you could never outdraw somebody that's already got their gun out.
Correct.
Like, that's not how reality works. And I ain't playing with you.
In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if there was no ammo in that rifle. Honestly, from this image, it's hard to tell if there's even a magazine in it.
But he made a big show of priming the weapon.
He did.
And why would he do that if there wasn't?
Okay, I think he's got a little short mag in there, maybe.
Anyhow, no, let's see if we could do a different.
But I will grant that, given that he didn't immediately pull the trigger, I think that this kid thought he was just going to go in there, flash a barrel,
flash a big scary looking gun,
and get somewhere with it. Okay, you want to read this one?
Yes. Oh my! See, from Chicago. Concealed carry holder detained a burglar at gunpoint in Wrigleyville, prosecutors say. A Chicago man is facing burglary charges after a concealed carry holder caught him red-handed and held him at gunpoint until cops arrived, prosecutors said. Tyler Hamlin, 31, already had 2 active felony warrants, and now he's charged with burglary. The concealed carry holder received a security alert showing someone was on his porch with a flashlight in the 3500 block of North Fremont and Wrigleyville around 8:30 p.m. Uh-oh.
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, wait.
The homeowner went to his garage after the prowler walked out of camera range. Prosecutors said Hamlin was inside, having entered through an unlocked door. The homeowner warned Hamlin that he had a gun and ordered him to show his hands while his wife called 911. The police were here in about 45 seconds, and he couldn't get out of the garage. It was standing in the door. The homeowner told CBS 2 before charges were filed. Hamlin's defense attorney said said he has a bachelor's degree in psychology and gender and women's studies. Well, no wonder he's committing robberies.
He's trying to supplement his Starbucks check.
Oh, he's unhoused and unemployed. Yep, that sounds about right. Judge William Fay said Hamlin could be replaced on electronic monitoring without posting cash bail in the burglary case.
Damn.
Now, cash bail is its own separate thing that I don't want to get into, but bro, when you have active felony warrants and you commit more felonies, And I don't want to go too far down the system. Like, the way that we treat people who are accused of crimes, it's better than a lot of the other legal systems in the world, but it ain't good. There's stuff that happens every day that if you actually understood how the justice system works, it'd be a very black-pilling and cynical experience. However, when you have felony warrants and you're committing more felonies, yeah, okay, we're just going to let you out with cashless bail and an ankle monitor. An ankle monitor's cute, right? So many comments I am just not going to make, okay? Ankle monitor's cute, all right? But I guarantee you an ankle monitor doesn't stop you from doing anything that you want to do. Like, you can wear an ankle monitor and continue to burglarize houses. Like, it doesn't stop you, I promise.
I mean, it may guarantee that we could place you at the scene of the crime at the time of the crime. But that doesn't mean that you won't commit the crime.
Right. They're one of those feel-good things. So yeah, like, you're gonna let him out with an ankle monitor. Okay, sure thing.
All right. We are after the hour. It is Friday. So here's your safety brief. I want you to read that book. I want you to think about the legal advice, the conversation that he has about what the requirements are for a self-defense case. Give some real thought to how you carry your firearm on a day-to-day basis. Be in the habit. Once you have gone through the process, gotten a license if you need one, or you live in a constitutional carry state, do it the right way. Go study up, learn about a weapon. Look at a few different firearms. Ask for some advice from people you know. Get your head around what your personal needs are. Identify the weapon that you should be carrying, and then get in the habit of carrying it all the time.
Yeah, umbrella doesn't do you any good if you leave it at home.
Correct. And
I promise, everybody carries, everybody's safe. There are people out there, probably not in our audience, but there are people out there that think, oh my God, more guns is more problems. No, I promise, okay? Even though guys like Robert Reich and Jeff Tiedrich are going to lie to you and say that this is not the case, when you actually drill down into the data, more guns is less violence. Every time. Because bad guys are predators, and predators go after prey. They don't go after other predators.
Correct. Yeah, they wouldn't be criminals if they were good at jobs. They hate work. If you're unarmed, you look like food. As soon as you draw a firearm, you look like work.
No, I ain't fucking with you.
Yeah. So, y'all be safe out there. We love you, and we will see you Monday.